All right, welcome to another episode of Let's Go Brown and Green. Today on the show, we have Bryan Clayton, and Bryan is the founder of GreenPal. And GreenPal is, I believe, to be some type of Uber of lawn maintenance. You developed an app, and it went crazy. Is that correct, Bryan?
Yeah, you nailed it. So GreenPal is kind of like Airbnb or Uber, but for lawn maintenance services in the United States. So if you live in the United States and you need to get a gardener or a grass cutting service, rather than calling around on Craigslist or Yelp or Facebook, you would just download GreenPal, pop your address in, you get quotes, and then you hire somebody on your app and they'll come out and take care of this chore for you. GreenPal is a 10-year overnight success. We've been at this business for a decade. My co-founders and I, we're now nationwide in the United States, soon to be Canada, and then after that, we'll be coming to the land down under, and I expect you to be one of our first customers.
Oh, really? Fair enough. And what year was it that you started this? Because it must have been early on in the apps and everything.
Yeah, so my first business was actually a landscaping company. I built out a landscaping business in the state of Tennessee, and to one of the largest landscaping companies in the southeastern part of the United States. Built it up to about $10 million a year in revenue, and then sold it. And after I sold it in 2013, I thought, well, somebody is going to build an app to make this whole thing run easy, just where you can push a button and get it done. And so that was kind of where the idea came from. But it was kind of naivete as an asset. Didn't really understand how to build a mobile app, how to build a marketplace, how to write code and build software. So I kind of had to learn those things along the way, just through a trial and error process. So that took a long time. Probably took 3 or 4 years before we started getting some
So you were
traction.
a guy on the tools
Right.
doing the work. So it just started from one man, and then you went, I'm going to learn how to build an app, and boom.
Yeah, kind of like that. I ran a lawn mowing company, just me and a push mower, and grew it to about 150 people. So I grew it into a big business. And but it was to your point, was a very different world. It was very hands-on, blue collar, hand-to-hand combat, in the trenches type of thing. And then when that business was acquired, I kind of had to reinvent myself to become a tech entrepreneur, and how to write code and how to design and build software. So that took a while.
Right. So that first business that you grew to 150, is that franchisees?
That was 150 employees. So it was just one location, in Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, and then a nationwide company bought it. Yeah, sold that. It was a $10 million business, and sold it to a national company.
Yeah, and then you were just a guy with a heap of money that went off and built an app, and then launched like that the second time around.
Well, it wasn't necessarily a heap. I had just enough. I had just, when it was all said and done, and after taxes and everything, I had just enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life, and kind of pursue what I wanted to do, and which enabled me to build GreenPal slowly and kind of how I wanted to do it. But it wasn't the case where I could just plow a bunch of money into the second company. The new company kind of had to sing for its supper, so to speak.
Yeah. You're growing carefully. So, and you were growing from just a guy that was into doing all this stuff hands-on, knowing nothing about IT, or you must have had some type of an IT brain or background, or.
Yeah, here's what happens. So ideally, when you're building a company like this, you get a hacker and a hustler. So you get somebody who knows business, who is a good manager, somebody who's sales oriented. They can help drive the business forward. And then you get a hacker, somebody who knows the tech side of it. I had 2 co-founders, and we were basically 3 hustlers. None of us knew how to write code. So we had to teach ourselves how to write code just through YouTube, online classes. My co-founder went to a tech boot camp, and we kind of just through the school of hard knocks hacked on this thing for about 3 years until we got something that was good enough, made just a little bit of money, and then we could start building out a team around us of people who had 10, 20 years experience writing code.
Yeah, right. So, and what year was this?
So started in 2013, really didn't get rolling with anything meaningful probably until about 2015, 2016. And then 17, 18, 19 is when we started to scale. And now we have around 300,000 homeowners that use the app, around 30,000 contractors that use it to run their business, and still growing. Still have a long way to go. We're still day one.
Yeah, wow. So that is you say day one, and it sounds like you've conquered the whole of USA, man.
So well, a lot of people don't realize this. The industry is $100 billion industry, so we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, cool. So I guess what you've done is quite great. Yeah, wow. What actually made you see this gap in the market, or what made you see that apps were coming, or apps had been around for about 5 or so years by the time 2013 rolled around by memory. So you just went, you must have seen something and just went for it.
I think when you are trying to bring a piece of technology to the marketplace, start a new app, new website, new SaaS product, whatever, I think authenticity can be a competitive advantage. And so for me, I spent 15 years in the industry. I kind of saw firsthand how difficult it was for these small service providers to run a business, to get new customers, to organize it, to get paid quickly. And I also saw how difficult it was for homeowners to access them and hire them off the shelf, kind of like an Amazon or Uber, Airbnb type of experience. And so I saw that the product needed to exist. I saw the problem, and I figured out technology could solve it. What I didn't know was how difficult it was to invent a new product from scratch. That was something that really confronted me that I wasn't prepared for. And so that was something that took 2 or 3 years to figure out just through trial and error. So I knew it would work, but I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be.
Well, the thing is, so effectively it's like an Uber thing, you're saying.
That's right.
So not only do you have to get customers, but you have to get people on the other end that service it.
That's right. It's a multi-sided marketplace.
You're growing, yeah. It's a seesaw thing. Yeah, wow. Actually, I remember a few years ago there's a lot of Uber clones out there, but they never really take off. Whereas I guess you wouldn't have had much. You wouldn't have had much competition in that aspect.
Well, yeah, the competition was the status quo. So people would just want to do things the way they've always done. And so when you bring a new piece of technology to the market, you've really got to be 10 times better than the status quo.
Yes, sorry, just keep going. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. So, yeah, right. So, with there not being too much in the way of competition, you're able to really go. You're seeing the middle of the market, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. And, as they say, there's riches in the niches. We really boiled it down to a small use case. This is the easiest way to hire a basic lawn care company and didn't worry about anything else. And made it dead simple to use, just like Uber. And that's how we have built a nationwide network around that one use case.
Yeah, wow. And so now done a lot in America. Have there been other competitors now coming at you?
There have been a couple of similar platforms that operate in the same industry, but they attack it from a different perspective. They really they are kind of your lawn care service. They're building like the nation's largest lawn care service, whereas we connect you with a small independent business owner. So it's a little different. But we're doing $30 million a year. The industry is $100 billion. There's plenty of room for different platforms that operate in different ways. It's a really, really big market that we're trying to tackle.
Yeah, wow. So what about what other countries are you going to roll it out to?
So we're just at the point where we're reaching a little bit of full coverage saturation in the United States. We'll be in Canada about this time next year. After we figure out how to internationalize this thing, we'll then go to UK and then Australia. So definitely I'll hit you up when we get to Australia and you can try it out in Brisbane.
Yeah, man. No worries. Sounds good actually, because it's very hard to get someone around here. And the other thing, so who do you have, like someone, because you obviously must have grown so big you don't know where to go now. Do you have a mentor, or where are you learning your stuff from now?
I learn a lot from people who have done the things I'm trying to do at a huge scale, and they don't even know who I am. So, for example, the former CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick, I've listened to every keynote he's ever given, every podcast interview he's ever given. CEO of Airbnb, Brian Chesky, I've listened to every interview he's ever done, every talk he's ever given, every blog post he's ever written. So I have a lot of mentors like that who don't even know I exist, but I'm learning from them at the level they're executing.
Because they're the ones that you want to mimic and copy, because they've had a very similar service and they didn't know how to do it, and you just write off what they've learned. That's cool.
Right.
Smart idea, man. Yeah. Wow. Because you're a pioneer in this, You're just a little bit behind them, what they've done.
There's no playbook. There's no playbook. We have to figure it out and learn from people who have kind of done similar things.
Yeah. I just can't believe what you've done is all pretty cool. And how was it? So there's a lot of people setting up these apps too now, because my friend's a developer and he was building it for one of those small time Uber things in a city here in Australia. And he said it was just a nightmare to work with all the developers and everything. How did you find that? Yeah, because the communication was horrendous between every team. To someone building something like this, what would be your advice there?
Yeah, you really it's kind of like chewing glass, and you become to learn the taste of your own blood. You like the taste of your own blood. That's how I would describe it. It's really, really challenging getting one of these things going from scratch, because you're kind of playing whack-a-mole on a daily basis, just trying to triage around what the biggest problems you're facing are. And the way your buddy described it is very accurate. You're dealing with developers, you're dealing with customers that use it, with suppliers that use it. So it's kind of like you're all over the place. The way that I've stayed sane and the way we've kind of incrementally gotten better and better is just to focus on 2 or 3 things at a time and not worry about anything else. Like really looking at it like a video game, where you've got 10 levels of Super Mario Brothers or whatever, and just doing the things that you got to do to get through one level at a time. And the way we've scored that is just through revenue. We have revenue goals to get from one level to the next, and not worried about everything else. Just get 2 or 3 things done and then move on to the next level.
Yeah. But at the same time, I guess you can get caught up with wanting to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't be too good at that, you know what I mean? But you obviously caught yourself early on and said, let's just go slow. And what about the side of because it's all, I might be one of these contractors working on the app and a customer nearby finds me, and I might do a bad job. What are you finding about quality control? That must be a nightmare if you've got thousands of the,
in the early days,
your reputation,
Yeah, exactly. That's our job as the platform, is to make sure that when you hire somebody, they come out on the day they're supposed to, and that they do a good job. And in the early days, it was very much hand-to-hand combat. It was hand cranking this thing and running a spreadsheet and figuring out who had good ratings and who didn't, and who was getting booked more often and who wasn't.
What?
And we've since systematized that to where we understand that, okay, this guy only shows up 40% of the time. This guy's got a high rating or a low rating. This guy's only getting booked for recurring services so often. And we're able to score these providers and then demote the ones that aren't doing very well, and sometimes deplatform them and promote the ones that do a good job for their clients. And that's kind of our job as a platform. So a homeowner can kind of sidestep all of those not reliable providers.
Okay. Well, that would make sense. So when you were building the app and you said you had to learn all this yourself, if someone out there want to replicate the same type of thing, would you recommend that they learn that again, or that they go and learn this stuff like you did, the IT side of it, or do they just farm it out to a developer on a job work website or something?
I think if it's something very, very, very simple, you don't have to bring the IT in-house to be a core competency. But when you're inventing a new product from scratch, that's a robust marketplace, and an app has all these different features, and there's all these different users, interacting with each other. You really have to have that stuff in-house. It's kind of like wanting to start a restaurant, maybe a 5-star restaurant, and you don't have any chef, and you've never cooked anything in your life, and you've never, invented a recipe. You have to have that stuff in-house. So yeah, I would encourage people that want to start a technology-oriented company. You really need to learn this stuff, or have a co-founder who's in the trenches with you that knows it from the inside out. Otherwise, it's going to be next to impossible. It's going to be like starting a restaurant with no chef.
Okay, cool. And when you grew the other little ones, so someone who doesn't want to grow this, but they want to grow their own franchise, their own type of business without the app side of things, what's a quick tip you can give us with that side? Like, you would have done it without the app. You said you went to 150, I think it was.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's, in the United States, and I'm sure in Australia, there's opportunity for service-based businesses like that. And if you're willing to work hard and work smart, you can make a good living and become financially independent in that kind of business. I sure was able to. My advice would be to understand that you're doing 3 things at once at all times. You're working in the business. So in my case, mowing the yards like I was back then. You're working on the business. What is my marketing strategy? What's my employee recruitment strategy? How do I keep customers happy? What's my customer satisfaction strategy? And so on. And then the third thing is you're working on yourself. What are the books I'm reading? What are the podcasts I'm listening to? How am I leveling up personally? How am I learning the skills I need to learn? Because you got to do all 3 at once in order to make it in small or big business. So that's a little bit of advice I would pass on.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, Bryan, I know you're a busy man and you got to go, but thanks for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us, and a lot of listeners will take a lot from that. And I look forward to seeing GreenPal grow. And when do you see it in Australia?
I would say at least 18 months, maybe 24 months. And when we come to Australia, I'll come back on the show and announce it.
All right, cool. Look forward to it, man. Well, you have a good day, Bryan. And I'm here waiting for it on the App Store, mate.
Awesome, Brandon. I appreciate you having me on your show.
All right. See you, buddy.
See you.